Okay, rulers, settle down. Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to get singles for all your Force of Will and other trading card games, as well as these amazing patrons. Special thanks to guest lecturer member Vite Ramen. Thank you for your support. Class is in session.
Hey rulers, what's going on? It's Paul back with another tournament report today. Today we're going to be looking at the recent GP in Caseyville, Illinois, and we're going to just start right off with the ruler breakdown for this event. So as you can see on the chart, there's been about 44 total decks listed here. 19 of them were featuring Mujdart, 12 were Violet. And then a distant third place tie to both Wolfgang 2 and Excalibur Genesis, with then some very basic, some other rulers, just singletons, a couple of which were on stream. If you remember that Mikage list, which was super fun to watch. But nonetheless, we're looking at 44. You're going to be wanting to look here at the conversion rates, because pretty much everything from Wolfgang down on this list, that doesn't exist in the top cut, unfortunately. Although we did have the Ragnarok piloted by Stephen Holsheiser on the bubble. So this was one of those lists that, I was really hoping was going to get into the top cut. I know a lot of us were hoping for a more diverse top 8, but, bear with me. Some folks are already calling for Lycion bans and some other things that folks are just really pushing right now, especially with recent GPs, just seeing Feasting Mujdart win. I just want to say shout outs to Brandon Bremont for winning this event. He did a lot here, which I did not see in the other lists as I went through them. One of the biggest things to take away from this is that Feasting Mujdart has a core set of about 19 to 20 cards. And I say 19 only because Brandon is only playing 3 Welser, whereas most people were playing a full suite of 4. So the suite is just 4 Prisia, 4 Melfi, 4 Lycion, 4 Welser, and then 4 Anti-Magic. And from there, you can kind of get into a very flexible position, with a lot of people recognizing that the Magnus Guardian Beast package with Never End is just really, really, really powerful. We're not seeing a lot of Alvarez in this GP, so just keep that in mind. A lot of the GP participants that were over in Parma at the time were using Alvarez to sort of get around Never End, which is not something we saw in this tournament all that much. But in Brandon's list in particular, you're starting to see that he's playing things like Suya, Dark Alice's Smile as opposed to Scorn, although Scorn is a really popular choice as well. And then the deck is also with Showdown with Ragnarok in the sideboard, which is this card over here by Optimal Camouflage. You're starting to see that Brandon is starting to think about how to beat Feasting Mujdart Lycion lists across the board, and the best way to do that is to pick out their combo pieces from their hand. They are a mid-range control deck that is trying to get to its win condition while also grinding out the match. So the best way to do that is just to play really good one-cost cards. Suya in and of himself is just a good resonator to put on the field, but then you can play Curse of Ragnarok with Lycion for free or for significantly cheaper if you have a Suya on board. The list in and of itself, including more darkness, is just really, really solid, including Duet of Darkness to wipe the board. So all this being said, I just want to say again, congratulations to Brandon Bremont for winning the event. And then let's look at the second place winner. This was Joseph Cuevas's list, and this is Violet. So Violet is still a viable ruler. It's very strong. The suite hasn't changed all too much, although what I'm seeing here in Joseph's list is only 3 Turbulence, which I think is okay. There were times when I was playing Violet just a couple of weeks ago where I found myself having multiple Turbulences in hand instead of Atoms, and being forced to discard that in order to draw cards off of Violet's effect doesn't feel good, so I can totally understand why he's going down to 3 at this point. They get kind of cloggy and they get kind of unnecessary. But this deck pretty much hasn't changed all that much either, although there is a second healing robot in this list, and it's a very honestly very straightforward list. Magical Loveliness going down to 1 makes a lot of sense to me. It's a card that is kind of just there, like kind of like White Garden is just there. Although I would say Magical Loveliness is a little bit better. Being able to tap something down is not irrelevant in the game state as it is right now. What I found really interesting though is just a maintenance of 1 void atom at all times in most of these lists. I do not see more people playing 2 or more in the main. They're always opting to put them in the side deck, which I think is okay. I found personally a couple of void in the main deck is actually a little bit better, but this is just me, right? Joseph actually got second place of this GP, so I would look at Joseph's list, study it. This is pretty much, I would think, the solved Violet list. There were some rumors about a Black Violet list going around with Dark Alice's Smile and Witch of the Fallen Kingdom to sort of mess up Lycaon lists more, but we didn't really see that play out in the top cut here. So I think Violet is pretty much solved at this point, and I think Joseph's deck illustrates that super well. So congratulations to him for getting second place, and we'll just keep moving on here. So in the top cut was another Violet list, Gerardo Nunez, playing a very similar deck to what we saw even just a moment ago. Pretty much the exact same carbon copy list. 4 Everfrost, 4 Eternal Wind, 4 Brave Force, 3 Aegis, 2 Prominence, Gradius. All really solid cards for Violet. Also just playing the 3 Turbulence, which again can get a little cloggy. The real difference here is in the side deck, and I think he just did this for his own playstyle, opting to put in a second Firestorm as opposed to just 1, which is a good way of burning out the remaining your opponent's remaining life. Firestorm's pretty decent, so it exists. Again, I'm seeing Violet as something that can get into the top cut, and it reminds me a lot of Keurig from back in Scheherazade meta. Victor Harris, top cut once again. What's interesting here is he's not playing the Sigurd package mainboarded, but welcome back to Victor Harris. Wow, I haven't seen you in a long time, buddy. So basically this is the same basic thing, although he's opting to play 4 Dark Alice's Smiles over multiple Suyas. Compared to Brandon's list, but for the most part he's doing what a lot of Lycaon decks do in general, although he's not playing Institute, and he's not playing multiple Institutes in the main board. He's not even playing multiple in the side, he's just playing the 1 and the 1, and I suppose that's because if you draw into Sigurd, like, you pretty much don't get to play Institute it like really quickly. So I mean, it kind of makes sense to me as to why he might want to side that. But it clearly does something for him because he's in the top cut of the top 4. So congratulations to Victor once again. Cal Tuma, top 8, playing Institute, very carbon copy, very good list in general. Although you're going to see a lot of the Dolly package here with Pulsing Thunder and Dolly, the Magical Dolphin here, being able to just wipe your opponent's board. I think is really powerful. Like, don't disrespect it, right? Although I can also see how Brandon's list would have fared against this. Pretty much if you play Dolly but your Pulsing Thunders are gone, they're kind of, Dolly's just kind of there. So I think that might be a reason why he shied away from that and decided to go more discard and more controlling in general. But I do like the Dolly package in general. If those Pulsing Thunders again go away, that kind of sucks, but the ability to just have 2 board wipes for free with Lycaon is really, really, really nice. JP, friend of the channel, friend of mine, made top 8 with his Feasing Mujdart list once again. You can see a lot of the same hallmarks here. Sigurd Institute, Magnus Guardian Beast into Witch and into Never End. Although in this list, he's playing one of his, honestly, I remember when he opened this card during our sealed event over at Jeremy's place, Nidhogg and Resistance. Something that I know JP loves this combo so much, being able to just slam a Nidhogg, take 2 of your opponent's cards, and being able to just swing in with a huge resonator for flying damage. Card's good. really unique take on this list. Honestly, I really love it. And the resistance, it can scry you cards if you need it to, if you don't have the Nidhogg in hand. Although, because you're not playing Caduceus, you probably don't want to do that because it won't come back to your hand. But it exists, it's there. You can scry for it to look for that card with your Melfi triggers. You can look for it with Big Show. So the combo isn't necessarily hard to pull off, but it is definitely refreshing to see some variation in these lists. So again, congratulations to JP. Love you, buddy. And then we have another Lycion list. Again, Light of Raisin Revive is in Thomas Graham's list. I think this is a decent removal card to just get rid of things like your opponent's Lycion. Light of Raisin Revive says target entity, total cost 3 or less can be removed from the game. This is a good way of getting rid of a Lycion. Maybe even a Sigurd, an Institute. So it's very useful to have this card. If you're interested in, sort of making variations on your Lycion list, I think this card is definitely one of those cards that's in the suite or even in the sideboard. So just check it out. You do see the one Alvarez here in Tom's list, which is kind of a rarity at this point. I haven't seen that at all in this GP, so check that out. Congratulations to Tom for getting top 8. And then Paul Martinson, again, very similar list. Although what I heard especially on the podcast last night, if you weren't listening and didn't catch this, that's okay. But one of the things Paul did is he used his Pricias very sparingly, so that he didn't just throw all his Pricias on board, have them all stolen by Valentina, and then just be out of gas, right? So what he would do is he would play a Prisia. And then I believe he would go into a Sigurd and an Institute and just push and just grind out the game that way. And that's a good way of making sure you still have gas in the tank while also utilizing your Institute very well and relying on it a little bit more rather than just an end game thing. Actually use it to put pressure on the board. So just a lot of respect out for Paul for varying his play style, even with a list that is very similar to a lot of the other lists that we've seen so far in the GP. Congratulations for him getting into the top 8. So that, guys, that is Caseyville. To be honest, there's not a lot more to say. It's all pretty straightforward. Feasting Mujdart is still considered to be the best deck as it is right now, although, kind of like what we talked about on the podcast last night, there's a real chance that the meta is going to shake up with the next set. Does that mean that we're going to see a ban anytime soon? Anytime that a company is forced to ban a card, they have to sort of recognize that there's nothing that we could have done design-wise to make this deck any less powerful, more balanced, more fair, create more openings in the metagame. We're not really seeing that. I don't think. I think what we're going to see is Belial, Astema, Carlina offer some really powerful counterplay to decks like Feasting Mujdart. The battle comes to an end as a card existing in combination with Carlina says if you have one Prisia in hand, you suddenly don't have any Prisias to play around, and therefore your win con is just gone. So what I would say is if you are discouraged by these results, if you are someone who's feeling a little disheartened, just recognize the meta is definitely going to change within the scope of maybe 4 weeks, right? We have one more GP where this is going to be a thing. And just remember, again, I keep going back to this because I keep looking at sort of like the history of the metagame as it's unfolded since Saga Cluster entered into the format. EDL, Rezard was the best deck. You could play other things if you wanted to, but Rezard was the best deck, hands down. And you could play anti-meta things like Ragnarok, you could play anti-meta things like Celesta, and, Lilius existed as well. It did things, but Rezard was the best deck, most consistent, most tried and true. And then, set 2 came out with all of your 6 Ages, and that deck disappeared entirely. So, it might be discouraging to see Feasting Mujdart as sort of like the list that is doing the most work here next to Violet. But just recognize, next format is just a few weeks away, right? That being said, here at Ruler School, we always offer the notion of constructive criticism. Just say, like, you know, we like formats that shift, but we like formats that are a little bit more diverse. That's perfectly acceptable. And I think if you say it with respect and with value, just telling people in the company what you think about the game, from a standpoint of we respect you and we want this game to change for the better, that's never something that's going to be received poorly. Just don't be a jerk about it, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing. Just don't be a jerk about your criticism, and I think the company will hear us. I personally think this format's okay because I know it's going to end, right? It's not like reflect refrain meta. It's not like Scheherazade meta where it's like, oh my gosh, it's just Scheherazade after Sherry after Sherry after Sherry in the top 8, right? And oh look, a couple of Keurigs. It was just like that for a really long time, and for right now, it doesn't seem like it's gonna last that long. Anyway, but guys, I've said enough. You let me know what you think down in the comment section down below. Feasting Mujdart is clearly becoming the best deck. Violet is the best counter to that deck as it is right now, although Feasting Mujdart has the ability to sort of counteract that. And I just want to know what else you guys think about what's going on in the meta. Are you excited for new rulers to come in? What rulers are you most excited? Do you think are actually going to push back Feasting Mujdart's influence on the metagame? Let me know down in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, it's been a pleasure. Catch you later, and until next time on the next Tournament Report.